Why do you fall in love so fast? You might connect with them on an app and exchange a few messages and start to fall with them. Or you go on a date with them and they seem great, and so you think you found your ideal partner or the one. But they're not. They're complete strangers. You don't know them yet. You're falling for what you've projected onto them, and I'm going to explain this in today's lesson from an attachment perspective. And stick around to the end of the lesson because I'm going to show you how to stop falling in love so quickly with one simple solution. And if you're new to this channel, welcome. I'm Amy, and I work with women who get anxious in love and attract unhealthy relationship cycles. And I help them to feel confident, safe, and secure in their bodies so they can date to create the healthy, secure relationship that they deserve. And of course, if you want more content on this topic, please subscribe to my channel, click the bell button so you get the notifications because I post new lessons like this every week. Now, before we begin, I want to let you know that a few places have opened up on my calendar for the free one-to-one strategy session for the Love by Design program. If you want to know more about how to apply for that, to speak with me and my team, stick around till the end. There's this great saying that you can't eat the fruit the same day you plant the seed. And we have this kind of expectation that relationships are just going to happen, that we're going to fall into them without any kind of work. And not a lot needs to happen in order for this mechanism to be triggered, this projection mechanism. Cognitive bias only needs a few triggers of familiarity in order for us to begin this fantasy bonding process that I'm going to unpack. And this happens if you have insecure attachment that was developed as a child, and that accounts for around 50% of the adult population, where you project a fantasy bond onto your primary caregiver when you're a child in order to feel safe. And if you carry that into your adult relationships, this same fantasy bonding happens. Now, this is what I call the perfect partner projection. It's this projection of attributes that we desire in another partner, and they're generally a composite of traits that our primary caregiver or our father didn't meet when we were a child. So we created that in our mind, and that now forms this composite. And then as adults, as we move through relationships, our exes, in the ways that they didn't meet our needs, also add to this kind of ghost projection. Now, the less secure we feel in ourselves, in our body when we're dating, the less secure we feel alone, the stronger we're going to project and the more unawares we're going to be that we're actually doing it. So things like when you're walking around town, you might be seeing a nice person and instantly looking to see whether they've got a ring, whether they're going to be appropriate for you. It's this kind of out of control mechanism where you're constantly scanning your environment for a potential partner. Now, this is originally a safety mechanism, and it is a form of self-abandonment because you're not actually allowing yourself to cultivate internal safety. You've always relied on external connections in order to feel safe and to feel validated. And what you're effectively doing is when you project onto that partner, this ghost projection, you're falling in love with a projection that you create within yourself. And that internal mechanism is just a form of infatuated love. It isn't based or grounded in any sense of reality. Now, this really affects our filter and how we see the world, and I call this our attachment bias. This is the bias through which we see people around us. And when you're starting to feel you attached to someone and it feels a bit like octopus tentacles on someone and you can't let go, that's when you know this very strong bias is happening. And this is a self-manufactured projection that works perfectly for us. It's going to keep on working really well. We're going to miss all the red flags. We're not going to see any of the signs that they're not appropriate for us until one day we can't hold that projection strongly enough because the truth is just going to glare on through, and then all of a sudden we're going to see this completely different side of that person. If they're an unhealthy partner, this is the point in the relationship at which you finally start to see what seems like the completely opposite personality. But we're responsible for maintaining a level of this projection up until that point because we've been, effectively denying and not seeing red flags through this projection process. Now, the other payoff or gain that we get from this subconscious projection is that it actually gives us self-validation, and it actually allows us to experience and feel very strong bonding chemicals and happy chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin, regardless of whether that person is actually showing up for us or not. And again, this is something that we learn to do as a child, and this is where we start to get hooked on those emotions of love, and feelings of being addicted to love can come into play. So you're effectively self-administering dopamine when you're projecting this fantasy projection onto the partner that you're interested in. And I really want to validate this process because it was a very intelligent mechanism that happened when you were a child. In an insecure family environment where you weren't feeling seen or feeling noticed or feeling validated and enough as you were. Perhaps your parents were a little bit distracted and weren't able to, hold enough of a space for you, or you might have experienced some significant trauma like a divorce, a parent abandoning you, whatever it might be. But this intelligent mechanism worked to project onto our caregivers that they were enough, that they were showing up for us and loving us. Even though it was a false projection, it allowed us to feel safe in our bodies. It allowed our brains to develop. It allowed us to, feel a sense of belonging within a family unit, as chaotic as it was. But when we bring that into our adult relationships, it is a false connection. It might feel safe, but it's not grounded in any kind of reality. And the problematic part of this is that we're actually denying our own needs and self-abandoning in order to maintain that connection and maintain that fantasy. That's that part of us that is so willing to see those red flags go flying past in order to keep connected with that person. There's that famous saying that love is blind, and this kind of bias is what allows us to only see the best in that person or to justify, why they do things that might be hurtful to us. And what we're actually seeing is not the truth, it is what we're projecting onto them. So this is a form of fantasy bonding, and fantasy bonding is a very fast form of love. It is where you project onto that person this fantasy that makes up all of the people in your past that didn't meet your needs. This person now, in that projected unreality will now meet them. As opposed to real love, which is slow and organic, and it's grounded in the truth. And most of all, it is not self-serving. It isn't an ego-based projection that we're trying to secretly get all our needs met. True love is actually seeing a person for who they are, including all of their flaws, all of the rainbow of that person, and still choosing to show up with love, which comprises of actions every day, and it is a form of a discipline. But this type of love, fantasy bonding, truly serves only the self. And there are mythical origins to this form of bonding. This is a painting of the famous narcissist who was cursed to fall in love with his own projection until he died of starvation. There is no nourishment or sustenance in this type of bonding where you're falling in love with the projection of your unmet needs. Now, I'm not suggesting that you're a narcissist, and of course, this is where the narcissist personality disorder comes into play, but there are seeds of this internal process where you are effectively bonding with aspects of yourself. Now, I'd love to hear from you if this is landing. Do you notice that you project fantasies when you're dating someone, or when you see someone, you start creating all these stories that might be really exciting to you, and then maybe later down the line you feel really let down because they're not actually the person you thought they were at the start. So how do we unravel out of this process? What's the way that we can go about getting back into real, authentic, healthy connection? We need to know the difference between fantasy and reality. So this fantasy bond, we need to take a bit of a microscope onto it now, because what it does is it really fuzzies up our screen when we're meeting someone for the first time and trying to discern if they're a match for us or not. We want to be able to clearly see a person for who they are and discern who they are as a person without this fantasy projection from going on. We also want to have clarity of mind in order to collect data effectively too. And if you want to know what kind of data you need to be collecting, what green flags actually look like on the dating scene, I want you to watch this video next. So the simple solution to getting grounded into reality and not allowing this projection to overwhelm us when we're dating is what I call the solution by separation. We're going to look at what this ghost partner, what this projection actually comprises of, and we're going to get used to knowing when we're in that space, and that will allow us to have the space to then see more clearly and step out of it and really be with that person. So how do we know what this projection is? A really quick way to start collecting data on the projection that you create is to just write a list of all of the good and bad attributes that all of your exes had, all of their qualities, anything that comes to mind, just free flow it out. And then in between all of the different, aspects of your exes, I want you to notice what the similarities are. And these are similarities between their character traits, the way that they look, whether they might have been exciting, how they made you feel, whether it was dangerous and exciting to be around them, whatever they are, look at the similar traits. And then look at your primary caregivers and your father. What were the similarities between your father and your exes? And specifically, what were the similarities in how they made you feel? So for an example, if you had a father that was perhaps emotionally unavailable, they might have even been someone like an alcoholic, someone who really was struggling. And you've got some similarities then with your exes that show emotional unavailability as well. I want you then to just dig deeper and notice the feelings that it makes you feel. It might be exciting, it might be attractive to you. Those are all attributes that your ghost partner is going to be created to, when you project onto them, they're the feelings that you're going to feel inside, which is why when I coach my clients in my program Love by Design and I encourage them to date all different types of people, we're reluctant to date people that make us feel a little bit more, that might feel boring, or it might feel a little bit too even, because we're not having that excitement of our attachment mechanism being activated. So once you've gathered all this data about the similarities between your exes and your primary caregiver, I want you just to do something really simple and give this person a name. Right? When you give this ghost projection a name in your mind, it allows you to then come into a relationship with it and to acknowledge it, that it is actually a part within you that has no bearing on reality. Naming it to taming it is the best way to go about it. And then I want you to really honor that projection, honor that person within yourself, because that projection is a self-soothing mechanism that you have had inside of you since you were a child in order to make you feel safe, right? It's this intelligent mechanism that now no longer serves you as an adult. So honor that when you come into dialogue and notice that you're projecting this ghost partner onto someone that you're dating, just take a step back and recognize the self-soothing process at play, and then step into more healthy ways to self-soothe in that moment. And they're going to be generally ways around how you can meet your needs on your own in that moment, whether they might be your physical needs or your emotional needs, connecting with a pet or a friend, having a nourishing meal, going to a yoga class, whatever your self-soothing practices are that are a healthy outlet for you. And then when you go out to date and when you're swiping on apps or however you're choosing to go about it, I want you to approach things really slowly, like a turtle, like a snail, and know that reality takes time to unfold, and the connection process between two people takes such a long time to happen as well. You're not going to see the truth behind who this person really is for weeks, if not months. And so allow that time to pass while practicing this self-soothing and getting really smart on yourself when you're in that projection space. And in that dating container, it's really important as well to know that when you're projecting onto someone, you're doing something that I call pushing into the space. And by energetically doing that and projecting onto them, you're not actually allowing or giving them any space to step into so that you can see who they really are. Now, I teach this push-pull dynamic in this video where I go through how to date effectively in order to set the pace. This is a great video to watch next if you tend to rush in too soon, because pacing is something that you really need to learn how to do. So allow this separation process internally to happen and unfold really slowly, and stay grounded in reality as much as you possibly can. Even go to the extreme of always reporting to a friend when you go out on a date, and really notice all of the little bits of reality around them, what they wore, the words that they said, the actions that they did, just like you're gathering data like a dating scientist, which is something that I teach in my program. And if you want to know more about my program and my 3-step process to go from insecure to secure in love, I'd love for you to join me in my free webinar. The link is in the description below. I also have a free Facebook group and I would love to see you in there. And if you have any questions or comments about the video today, I would really love to hear from you. Please let me know how this video landed for you. Now, if you'd like to submit an application for the one-to-one with me and my team, my calendar link is in the description below. You can go ahead and find a time there and we will speak with you soon. And for now, here are some next step videos for you to watch so that you can move one step closer to having an incredible relationship with yourself and with your future partner. And for now, I will see you in the next video.